All right. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today for our Music Director's Office Hour session. My name is Keiko McTingley, and I'm a music director. I've been with APM for 10 years, helping creatives like you try to find the best music for your projects. So I'm super happy that you're here today. We're going to be diving into all of the best tips and tricks on our website. And today, specifically, we are focusing on how to find music for your branded content and your advertising campaigns. That said, I know these tips are going to be applicable to all other types of projects and markets as well. So if you're not working on advertising, I'd say stick around and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So we received quite a number of questions through our registration when all of you registered. And so we'll be going through all of those today, but also if you have questions that come up as we go along, please submit them through the Zoom Q&A feature and we'd be happy to get to them. If we run out of time, we will make sure someone is in touch with you shortly after this webinar to make sure you have all of the tools you need to find the music you're looking for. So thanks so much for joining us, and let's just dive right into our first question. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to our website. All right. So our first question today is, how do I quickly find newly added or trending tracks that might fit for a fresh campaign? All right, so we get asked this question a lot on how do I find like the newest, most trending tracks, and I have a few tips for you. So I would say oftentimes we would start with pop music as that tends to be the trending thing, right? So I would start with pop. And one thing that I really love about our catalog is that we have this hugely very cool back catalog of archival and vintage music. But in this case, you're looking for the most trending current stuff. And so you want to make sure you're not getting those vintage tracks. And so what I'll actually do is I'll go over here to the left panel. I'm going to click on vintage. And then if I use this little drop down here, I can exclude vintage styles from my search. So this is going to remove anything that's vintage, archival, and just wouldn't be suitable for something that I'm looking for contemporary music. From there, let's say your campaign is looking for something with female lyrics. If it's more like suited towards women, let's say you want something that is confident. And then to get the newest tracks first, you have a few different strategies to do that. The first and easiest one that I will point you to is over on the left panel, we have this quick filter for new releases. If I add that to my search, you'll notice that these dates pop up here. So we're looking at music that was released in the last 4 months or so. And so let's see what these sound like. Yeah, so let's say something like that is working for me. You can then use a few different ways to find similar tracks to this. We have a sounds like button right here. When you click on that, it'll show your track that you were just listening to. It'll pop it in the search bar, and then you'll get songs that sound similar to that one. Okay, so that new releases button is one way to find the newest tracks at the top of your search. Another way, I'm just going to go back to the search that I was on. Another way to do this is instead of doing, hold on here, instead of doing the release date, you can also sort your results by like the newest stuff at the top. And to do that, you're going to click on this upper right-hand corner up here. Sort relevance is how it is right now, meaning that you're getting the most relevant stuff to your search at the top of this. But instead, I'm going to sort by release date and then descending, meaning you're going to have the newest release stuff at the top of your search, and then it'll go down. So at first, our results probably look pretty similar to the new releases because we have all the new releases up here. But as you scroll down, you'll get other results as well. Let's listen to this one. Well, yeah, so I would say that definitely matches what we have been getting asked for in terms of popular current music requests, and that's how I would go about looking for that. Okay, next question. Oh, okay, so we received quite a few questions that are all sort of around the same feature, which is, for example, how do I filter music with stingers, cut downs, and alternate versions for ad edits? Another person searching for instrumental versions of vocal tracks. And then another question asking about how to find music that is exactly 30 seconds long, as many 30-second tracks are actually ending between 27 and 29 seconds. So all of these questions, I know that was a lot of information, but they all point to looking at different versions of our tracks. So let me show you where to find those. On any track, you can click versions here if there are multiple versions, and it'll show you all of the other alternate versions of this track. So for example, this lighted up track, it has vocals on the main track. And then you'll find underneath, there's a 30-second version, there's an instrumental version, instrumental 30-second version, and an underscore, which is going to be the option that's a little more stripped back and doesn't have the melody or the vocals. So that's how you can find different versions for a track. Same deal down here. Instrumental version, 30-second version, etc. Not all tracks have pre-cut like 30-second versions, but a lot of them do. And if you want to make sure that you're only seeing tracks that have that 30-second option, one way you could do that is by clicking on this promo ads 30-second quick filter over here on the left side. And now you're looking at tracks that are all within that range. Now, to follow up on this other question that says many 30-second tracks actually end between 27 and 29 seconds. Yes, and that's just because depending on the tempo of the song, they're trying to fit the cut as close to 30 seconds as they can. Sometimes it just is a little bit short or it's a little bit over. One thing that I do to combat that, if I need something to end at exactly 30 seconds, you could try using, instead of doing the quick filter promo adds 30 seconds, you can go down on the left panel to duration. And then I might actually look for duration like 33 to 35 seconds. And that's going to give you your buffer so that the track ends probably closer to 30 seconds. And maybe there's like a small tail or ring out past that, but it'll get you closer to the 30 seconds. Sometimes it just depends on the cut, really. So for example, let me pause that. For example, you can see on our sound wave here, it ends like right about 30 seconds, even though the length of the track is 34 seconds. So that's one way, if you really need it to go all the way to the 30 seconds, that's one way that I would suggest looking for that type of ending. Again, going to duration and then typing in whatever length you think is going to best fit your project. Cool. Next question, kind of along the lines of versions. This one is just asking about how they can find stems. So stems are going to live on the main version of the track, and you'll see them here listed here. If I click on the stems here, you can see all of the stems. You can opt to just download one or two of them if you only need the vocal stem, for example, or just the drums, etc. If you'd like to download all of them, you can click the download button on the track. Oh, I'm not, that's strange. Sorry. Um, Let me do that really quick because I'm going to need to show you my projects and everything. Um, okay, so and my login is with a dark mode. I'll just switch back to light mode. Okay, so if I click download, you can click include stems here and then download that from there, and that'll download all of the stems. So one thing that I want to note about stems is that you'll only find them on the main version of the track. If you are looking at just instrumental tracks, the instrumental version, you're not going to find them on those. So if like you're listening to an instrumental version and you want to find the stems, go ahead and navigate to the main version and see if they're there. If you ever have any issues finding stems, please reach out to us. Sometimes the library just hasn't uploaded the stems yet. They exist and they're just not on our website. I will say, obviously, stems for archival tracks that were recorded, in the 50s, 60s, 70s aren't going to exist. Stems for classical music is also tricky. A lot of that stuff was recorded in the same room and they don't have the stem separation. But we also do have a tool, an AI mixing tool that we use to separate out stems for tracks that are a little older that don't have stems that exist. So that's something that we can also offer. So if you don't see them on our website, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to see what we can put together for you. All right, moving on to our next question. Is there an easy way to find sound alikes for popular tunes? Indeed, there is. So let me clear out my search. And then I'm going to bring in an example that maybe is relevant to folks today. So we have a feature called Sonic Similarity. And so I'm going to copy this YouTube link and I'm going to paste it into our search. And so it'll take a minute to analyze the link that you posted. You can copy and paste links from Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Vimeo, SoundCloud to get results. And so let's take a listen to some of these. Yeah, so similar to that theme song, it's just kind of like this sort of eerie piano, but it's soft and you're not sure what's going on. I think that these are suitable for that. And so you can also drag and drop an MP3 or a WAV file into the search bar, and it'll look for similar songs as well that way. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Can I organize or save tracks to compare options later? What's the best way to share music with my team? Okay, yes. So if you're logged in, you will have access to all of your playlists if you go to My APM and then Projects. And your right panel will open up and any playlist that you create and add tracks to are going to go here. So let's say that we are looking for upbeat hip hop, and you create that playlist, and then you do a search for upbeat hip hop. Okay, so to add tracks to your playlist, you have a few options. You can drag and drop them into your playlist like that. You can also use the plus button add to project, and then select the one and add it like that. It's really choose your own adventure there. Some of my coworkers prefer to drag and drop, others prefer to use the plus button. So it's whatever your preference is. You can also add multiple tracks at the same time by checking off the boxes to multiple tracks. You can also use keyboard shortcuts like shift click. So if I'm holding down shift right now and I click this one, it selects all of them, or control command click. You can select individual additional ones like that. And then you can just drag and drop them into your folder. Okay, so let's say the other part of this question was, how do I share this music with my team? You have a few different options there. If you click the send button, you can directly email it to anybody on your team. You can copy a link to the playlist and then share that link with your team. You don't have to be logged in to listen to any playlist. You just have to be logged in to download music. But one thing that I wanted to point out, because I know this is important for this group of people, if you have a disco login that you are using to manage all of your music, you can upload your APM playlist directly into your disco inbox. You just have to link the two. So if you go to disco here and then choose your audio format, and then you hit send, it'll essentially another window will pop up and ask you to log into your disco account. And then once you do that, the tracks will upload directly to your disco inbox. That's something that I think has been a really big time saver for a lot of our clients. So I hope you find that helpful as well. If you have any questions on how to use that feature, please reach out. Okay, so that is organizing and saving tracks. You can also create sub playlists or sub folders. You can see I have some set up here just to kind of help you organize things further. And then as your growing list of projects develop, you can use the search button up here to find specific project titles. If your list is getting pretty long and you need to just quickly find what you're looking for, similar to any other type of file management service, you can go ahead and search for the playlist title in there. Okay, moving on. What is the best way to collect the various sound effects toolkits? Okay, so we have a couple options here in terms of sound effects. And so I want to just quickly go over, we consider sound design and sound effects two different things. So sound design, we have thousands, I think maybe 16,000 sound design tracks, little short cues that would be things like whooshes and hits and rises. And all of that can be found in the left panel under sound design. And then you can choose whichever category is best suits what you're looking for. If you're looking for sound effects like Foley effects or, like doors shutting, cars revving, that kind of stuff, we don't specialize in sound effects at the moment, though we are looking to potentially bring a sound effects catalog onto our site as an add-on. That should be coming more information on that this year. But one thing that you could do is you can look for music with FX, and that's going to be in the left panel here. These are going to be songs that have sound effects in them, and some of them do have stems with the sound effects that might work for you. We also have compiled the limited amount of sound effects that exist in our catalog in a separate playlist, and we'd be happy to share that playlist with you. So if that's of any interest, please reach out and we'll send that playlist link along. All right, next question. Looking for best methods on how to find music for announcements. Okay, music for announcements. So it's a little bit vague in terms of what genre we're honing in on, but let's just say we're looking in general for like exciting announcement music. So let's start then with one thing I would say is we can start with a tempo that's more upbeat. So if you go into the left panel and then tempo, I feel like music for announcements, typically the music should be like a little energetic. And I think a good place to start is 120 BPM. That's just been like, from my experience, a good place where the music's going to feel upbeat and exciting. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that to my search. That's probably the first place that I would start. And then I would kind of hone things in from there. Let's say it has to be exciting. It has to build, has to be energetic. Okay, let's see where we land here. I'm also going to reset my search. Okay. Okay, so more of an indie vibe. That one's a little more traditional, orchestral. And something a little more poppy. So you can see how adding a genre is probably going to help narrow down your search to whatever type of music you're looking for. But this is a good place to start if you don't know what genres you're looking for. And so let's say I really liked this first one. I can look at the tags that are underneath here to see what genre it is. I also have the genre here as well. And if you're not seeing the tags and the genre in your search results display, you can customize what type of information you see here by clicking on this customize wheel. And you can see I have everything displayed. You can turn things off and turn things on, however, whatever your preference is. But so let's say I was really enjoying this track. I go and I see that the genre says indie. So I'm going to add indie to my search. So we already know what that one sounds like. And you can tell because that we already listened to it because the play button is already highlighted, whereas like these ones are not. As you audition music, it'll show you that you've already listened to it. And then again, if you wanted the instrumental version of that track, you would just find it in versions. And the instrumental version is right there. Yeah, so I think including words like exciting, building, and energetic are going to help with music for announcements. And then adding some kind of genre based on whatever your project is looking for is going to help really narrow those down. That's how I would go about approaching that one. Okay, next question. Can I search for music based on the type of product I'm advertising, like high-end fashion or new beauty products or a car commercial, etc.? So this is a good time to talk about something that we just launched last week, and it's called prompt search. So I'm going to clear out my search. And when you log into the site, you'll see this nice, beautiful page talking about our new prompt search feature. So this is kind of going to give you an example of different prompts that you can use to try out. So prompt search is our essentially, free text way of searching. So you don't have to, it's not relying on metadata and tags. It's just analyzing the text that you put in and then coming back with ideas that fit that. So you can kind of talk to it more like you would talk to a Google search engine as opposed to a traditional metadata-based search engine. So let's, for example, if you are working on, let's say, a truck commercial, and that's pretty much all you know. You don't really know exactly like what type of music you're looking for. You just know it needs to be for a truck commercial. You might say music for a rugged truck commercial because they're usually pretty macho, I would say. So let's hear what these sound like. Yeah, feels suitable for a truck commercial. Let's try another prompt. Let's say I'm working on a pharma type of ad and I need typically I would say they're more serious but hopeful because that medication is going to be the best thing in your life. So let's say serious but hopeful music for a medical ad. And then let's hear what these sound like. Yeah, so these all kind of start out with a little bit more serious and subdued. And then build to a more hopeful outlook. So this prompt search is a good place to go if you're not exactly sure how to describe the music you need in musical terms, and maybe you just kind of know the setting of the spot that you're working on and you want to just start there. So I would use prompt search for that, definitely. If you already know like exactly what you're looking for, I would say stick to your traditional search, and to swap back, you can just click the ABC button and you're back to your typical metadata tag-based searching. So let us know what you think about this prompt search because we would love to get your feedback if you're finding it useful or if you have any comments. We're really excited to put this feature into the hands of folks like you. And I hope you find it helpful. Okay, moving on to our next question. I'm looking for a sophisticated classical sound, but I need it to feel modern. How can I search for this? Okay, sophisticated classical needs it to feel modern. That definitely, to me, points to our genre that we have up here, neoclassical. This is a good place to start when, yeah, you need something that has a classical vibe, but is more modern and less stuffy, but still sophisticated. So I would start there with the neoclassical genre. And then to help direct it to feel more modern, I would maybe add some electronic instruments. And since this is a really common style for corporate music, I might also add corporate to my search. Okay, let's see what these sound like. Yeah, so this has definitely a classical vibe, but you can hear those underlying electronic and um, sort of modern textures underneath. Another good word to add to this search could be, it could be sophisticated, it could be elegant. Those types of words I find help keep within that like sophisticated classical vibe, but we're still looking at neoclassical and modern tracks. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our next question. It says, we occasionally have clients that are looking for an audio or sonic signature. What's the best way to go about finding something that fits this? Okay, so an audio or sonic signature, I'm interpreting as a logo or something that you can associate with the brand identity. Okay, so usually those are short, right? So one of the first things that I would do is go to duration and put in the length of the brand identity or sonic logo that you are wanting. So let's say something like from 2 seconds to 4 seconds. Um, okay. So already you see all of these things here, and then I would add terms like just depending on the brand that you're working with, right? So sometimes they're looking for just a little chime or a little piano riff, things like that. Putting in an instrument can help you narrow things down, but let's just start with chime and see where we end up. So these are really short, 2 to 4 seconds. And I think I'm looking for something that's a little bit more, has a melody. So let's try then instead something like happy and piano. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so I think these are suitable for something really, really short, but let's say you're wanting something a little longer, I would go back to duration and refine from there. So let's say we really want something more like 5 to 6 seconds. Oops. All right, let's hear some of these. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I would go about doing that. I would base your search on the duration. One library that I want to point out that's really good at these is a library called Spot On. If I go to our libraries in the left panel and then Spot On, they specifically make cuts that are like these kind of mnemonic type stings, I would say. Yeah, so very simple, just like catchy mnemonic stings. Spot On is a good place to go for that. And you can even search for the word mnemonic and those will come up right away. That's how I would search for brand logos. Okay, next question. Are there specific libraries or albums tailored for advertising? So we just talked about one of them, Spot On. I would say Spot On is also good for in general, like corporate underscores embeds. They have some contemporary music and then as well as stuff that's a little bit more traditional, like piano, strings, acoustic guitar type stuff as well. Spot On is a good place to go for that. Two that I really use a lot for advertising in corporate projects. If you're looking for more pop-based stuff, I like 1107. Um, and I'll just play you some of their pop. Let's see. And then one that I would point you to for like contemporary corporate music would be our library stereoscopic. The abbreviation is SCOP. I just typed it in and then picked it from the predictor that dropped down right there. And they have a lot of different styles. But something that I go to them a lot is like this blend between orchestral and electronic music, or electronic elements. So stuff like this one is a blend of orchestra and hip hop. And let's see. They also have kind of just contemporary, upbeat, like percussive stuff. Yeah, so I would say 1107 and stereoscopic are two of my favorites for advertising. But as you get to know our libraries more, you'll find your favorites too. And one way to do that is to, I would say, like put in the search terms that you are typically using for your projects. So let's say like upbeat, pop, uplifting. And then let's say like this search is really working for you. All of these things are applicable to your projects. I would now navigate to the library panel in the left panel over here. And then you can sort your libraries by count, meaning that the ones with the most results in your search are listed at the top. And then that'll point you to the libraries that are most relevant to this search. And you can kind of get to know our libraries a little better through that. If I click on the little arrow, it'll show you specifically, because some of these have sub-libraries, specifically which one is relevant to your search the most. That's a really good way to kind of like, I know we have so many libraries and it can be overwhelming to try to learn about all of them, but that's a really good way to get familiar with the ones that are going to be most relevant to the search terms that you're using most often. Okay, cool. Thank you for that question. Let's move on to this one. Are there curated playlists or pre-made collections that make searching easier? Thank you for asking that, because we do curate and spend a lot of time and love putting together some of our playlists on the site. So if you go to Discover in the top right over here and then Playlists, we put together all of these playlists, and some of them are updated every month with our new releases. Other ones are updated quarterly, just depending on the playlist. But this is a really good place to go to look for trending music. For example, we have all of these trending on TikTok playlists here based on genres that we see most popular on TikTok at the moment. We also have all of our Fresh 5 playlists, which we update every new release. And these are the music director's top 5 picks in each of these genres, every new release. So this is a good place to go if you're looking for more unique ideas or things that we just feel are going to be really strong um, and useful tracks based in that genre for that month. So we also have playlists based on holidays and different uses as well. So I definitely recommend browsing that Discover section, Discover playlist to just browse around and quickly find music that will be applicable to your projects. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. I want to be mindful of your time, so we really appreciate you being here. So let's see. Can I filter my search to find music that works well with voiceovers? Yes. So with voiceovers, we often find that people are looking for underscores and beds that are sparse and don't have much going on. I tend to start by doing track type all the way at the bottom of your left panel and then underscore. These are going to be tracks that are the underscore versions that don't have a melody and they just kind of sit there and don't get in the way too much. So that's where I would start, underscore. And then you can start adding your terms from there. So like, let's say corporate, piano. And then one other thing I like to do is remove. So a lot of tracks are a little bit busy, and that doesn't work super well for underscore. So I like to exclude those from my search. So again, I'm gonna click the down arrow and then hit not or exclude, and then remove those from my search. So let's see where we land. Yeah, so something that just kind of sits underneath, doesn't get in the way. And like, while this melody is a little bit busy, it's so quiet and gentle that it probably would work just to kind of like keep the dialogue moving, but not get in the way. So yeah, I would say if you're looking for tracks that'll work well with voiceover, starting with underscore is a good place, and then go from there based on whatever your project needs are. And again, I just want to emphasize, if you find a track that's working and you want to hear more like that, use the sounds like button to find those additional tracks. All right, well, that brings us to time. Thank you so much for all of the thoughtful questions. I think we went through a lot of really good tips and tricks there. If you ever have any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to chat and share all of the fun music tips and tricks. So please get in touch. And thank you so much for joining us and spending your afternoon with us today. We'll probably be doing another one next month. Don't hesitate to register to learn more about our website and our search tips and tricks. Thank you.